Page 1, FMC spends entire life malnourished, can barely lift a sword. Page 10, FMC is a master warrior, effortlessly defeating enemies 3 times her size who have had decades of training. Stop with the symbolism of corsets equals trapped. If it's difficult to breathe in a corset, simply loosen it. That's how they work. You've probably met her before. She's witty, feisty, rebellious, stick thin, sword wielding, always the underdog, even though the odds are somehow impossibly in her favor every single time. She's today's strong female character, and she's exhausting. One Redditor said, I think my issue with strong female character syndrome is very often instead of coming off as badass, they come off as blind, ragey, and stupid. Angry is their main personality trait. And while I am absolutely a mad at the world right now feminist, I know how to control my temper, behave in social situations, be kind to people, treasure my friendships, and still find humor and joy in the darkest times ahead. It's the nuance that's lacking. Somewhere along the way, we started writing these female characters as quote unquote strong, and strong stopped meaning courageous, resilient, and inner virtue, and started equating to having tempered tantrums every 5 pages. In today's video, we're breaking down cringy tropes that define the strong female character and ending with a little bit of hope and ways that we can bring back more well-rounded characters. Also, stay with me till the end so you can get a list of books that have great, well-written female characters that are filled with virtue. First off, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Rachel and I love stories of all kind, and I'm doing my best to think well about them and also help you to think well about the stories that you consume. I am official now. I feel really official. I have a microphone. So hopefully I'm part of the cool club. I'm just hoping that this will take the videos to the next level. Shout out to my awesome husband for teaching me how to use it. Anyways, on that note, let's get right into the video. Be sure to like and subscribe if you want to see more content like this and all that jazz. Part 1, the rise of the strong female character. Let's begin with the obvious. There is nothing wrong with a character who is fierce, confident, clever, knows what she's doing, and doesn't want anyone to get in her way. There's nothing wrong with people like that. There's nothing wrong with characters written like that. But what happens when every single character starts sounding and acting this way? Strong has kind of become shorthand for this type of character that is oftentimes emotionally shut off, very hot-tempered, witty, often sword wielding or fighting in some manner if it's like a fantasy novel. And when these strong female characters encompass all of these things rather than just being a well-rounded character within their own right, we lose something extremely vital. They become flat and predictable and ironically pretty weak because we lose the power of their presence and their depth. There's this whole thread on Reddit I was reading the other day with examples of these tropes that I thought were hilarious. She's emaciated but can wield a sword with ease 2 pages later. She's strong and capable but needs a man to save her from everything. To me, this trope is no effort whatsoever FMC. This trope is done right so rarely that I can't even remember one book with it. Oh, that's so bad. It looks like a character that was assembled by just checking all the boxes for a best-selling New York Times romantasy book. And I get it, authors want to sell books, but at what cost? Why these tropes hurt more than help? There are 3 main ways that I think these tropes hurt female representation in books. First, they suggest that women don't need to work for what they want. The talent is inherent. Every girl just so happens to be the chosen one, inherently good at everything she does without really having to train for it. There's no growth happening. It's some sort of wish fulfillment. Second, they demonize femininity. Where are the female friendships? Where's the admiration for grace, resilience, patience, and virtue overall? Too often, these characters demonize dresses, they mock other women, and they use masculinity as their only path to credibility. It's not like other girls, implying what about other girls? Femininity is not a weakness, and strength that cannot coexist with softness is not strength at all. And third, these tropes often reduce women to their appearance. Despite all the empowerment rhetoric, most of these female main characters are stunningly attractive. They're often described as impossibly beautiful, and they're often paired with romantic interests that praise them for their outward beauty more than anything. And the sad part is most of these examples are written by women, and I'm just so tired of reading about how she thinks that she's so plain, but everyone else thinks that she's this goddess. Let's describe a better definition of strength. Strength can look like resilience, perseverance through trials, steadfastness in the face of adversity. Some of the most compelling female main characters are not always witty or flashy. They're steady and strong in their own way, and they might appear boring on the outset, but underneath it all is where their strength truly lies. Take Anne Elliot from Persuasion, and I'm talking about the novel Persuasion, not the Netflix adaptation. She's not bold or brash. She's loyal and wise and often put into maternal situations because she is a maternal person, and a lot of readers really resonate with her introversion and her steadfastness of character. Or Nancy Drew, who is a very traditionally feminine character, but she has the intellect, observation, and sense of justice to do right by the story. I remember when I was reading Nancy Drew as a kid, it really resonated with me that she knew how to change her own tire. It was a show of strength that just added to her capabilities, her resourcefulness, and just the fact that she was very well-rounded as a person. When I was thinking of examples of well-written women, I thought of the March sisters, and traditionally Jo is seen as the strong female lead, right? She's seen as brash, bold, she's going after her dreams. But I think the beauty of Little Women and what Louisa May Alcott was trying to do was show that each of these women are strong in their own right. The sisters choose their own path, and they discover themselves through those paths. Meg, in her desire to be a wife and a mother, shows great strength of character in the sacrifices that she's willing to make for her family. Amy shows strength of character by discovering who she is apart from her sisters and apart from just the vanities of her youth. So there's so many examples of these well-rounded women in literature that are so much more than just these cringy tropes. I think something important to note is that authors can take these cringy tropes and use them to create a well-rounded, well-written character. A talented author can write a feisty, witty, brash character and still have a lot of soul. One great example of this is Selena Sardothien, or Aelin Galanthus, I don't know how to say her last name, from the Throne of Glass series by Sarah J. Maas. She loves dresses. She has very strong female friendships. She looks out for others. And when the time comes for her to step into her leadership role, she's actually very fearful of that and very aware of her shortcomings. But she works for years and years to build up the strength that she has physically. And then when it's time for her to become a leader, she takes on that role with humility. She has the inner fortitude to do the hard things when they are required of her for the sake of her people. It is, it's just so good, so well written. And in my opinion, a lot of the cringy tropes might have come from people trying to piggyback off the success of this character and just doing it in a way that falls flat. But the strength is real in Aelin because it is earned. So what happened? Why did we trade virtue for sass? Why are all female main characters written in such a flat and cringy way? Well, I think one answer could be that our values have just shifted. As feminism is gaining traction, women are rejecting more traditional roles. Being a wife, a caretaker, a mother has been cast as oppressive. And I think as power has been defined in the last couple of decades, women are stepping more and more into these masculine roles to try and gain power for themselves in a way that seems culturally relevant, at least. In some ways, this has been beneficial for literature and storytelling, but in other ways we have jumped from one stereotype of what a woman should be into another stereotype of what women should be. The problem isn't the trope itself, it's the lack of craftsmanship in the execution. A talented writer can breathe life into a feisty, battle-worn heroine, but they're missing what makes her compelling. So we end up with these hollow echoes. It's just the same girl in different fonts. And it's not just books, it's Hollywood too. Everywhere you turn, it's the same like version of this snarky character, or it's the manic pixie dream girl, which is just another issue entirely. And I think people are actually getting kind of tired of this, and authors are swinging in the other direction by creating these very messy characters. I think Gone Girl is a really good example of what I mean by a messy female character. They're chaotic and unpredictable and oftentimes pretty unlikable, but what the authors are trying to do is show womanhood in a different light, show another version of it. They're very interesting characters, but it's not the solution to the specific issue that we're talking about today. There's a place for these messy characters in stories, but that's not the response to this strong cringe FMC. So what does a well-written female character actually look like? She's not defined by her body or her banter. She's defined by her choices. And most importantly, the choice to choose what is right. She could be gentle, or she could be loud. She could be chaotic, or she could be understated. But either way, she has to be real. And in order to feel real, she has to wrestle with herself, maybe change her mind, change and grow over the course of the story. She has to work hard, sometimes fail, get up and try again. So if you want your female main character to be strong, make her deal with hard stuff and overcome time and time again. Because characters don't just entertain us, they shape us. A strong female character isn't the one who is the loudest of them all. She's the one who has an inner strength that grounds her and helps her to speak wisdom even when the world around her is shaking. So if you're tired of tropes and you want to see women who are real and well-rounded and maybe a little bit complicated, but at the end of the day come back to themselves in a truer way, here's your list of book recommendations. The reason why I think this is so important is because the stories that we tell shape the world around us, and we owe it to ourselves, we owe it to our daughters, we owe it to our friends to have beautifully written, well-rounded, strong female characters in our stories. So if you're watching this and you are a writer, I beg of you, please put more thought into your female characters. They don't need to be perfect. Actually, they shouldn't be perfect. They just need to be real. Anyways, thank you so much for watching this video. If you've made it to the end, please comment your least favorite cringy female main character trope, and I will see you next time. In the meantime, enjoy some good stories and aspire to think well about them. Bye-bye.